Hey guys, welcome back to the Ghost and Friends YouTube channel. Appreciate you guys that are also tuning in on Twitter. Welcome back, Chris Marler, now Vern Dumquist. How are we doing, Chris?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing great, my guy. Thank you for being here. Obviously, a little bit to talk about. A lot of crazy things have happened in the SEC. Just going to do, we don't have Chris for a long time, so we're going to be quick on some topics. But real quick, Chris, I don't need you to talk about Texas, Oklahoma, because I was there. There's not much to talk about there. But Texas, Georgia, man, what are your initial impressions as Georgia gets ready to head to Austin?
All right, so I want to give a very firm warning to Texas fans. Do not sleep on this game and think that just because they struggled against Bama in the first half, just because they looked weird against Mississippi State and get 31 points, that this is not a dangerous team. I don't think Texas fans are, but this is a really, really big game. If there's anything you should know about Kirby Smart, is that in moments like this, it's when he's at his best. Like he's at his best in big moments like this. And I honestly think this game might have been circled more than the Bama game for Georgia, because I think they might have thought they were going to cakewalk through that. Really excited for it. Man, it's like every week with Texas, there is some new little prize and like shiny toy that they roll out there that, like, I didn't know Silas Bolden was that fast. I actually, when I saw him returning that punt, I immediately went to my phone to try and find your number and text you. And then you guys had scored like 2 minutes later, and then I realized you were at the game, and I was like, there's no point in like, I'm not going to blow him up about a punt return for like 17 yards right now when he's at the game. But it's just, him and like the freshman. Who's the freshman?
Wingo. Ryan Wingo.
Yes. That kid is a freak. There's just so much speed on this team, and there's so much talent. It's going to be a lot of fun on Saturday, man.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. And that's the thing about Silas that a lot of Texas fans have quickly grown to love, is he doesn't get a lot of touches.
Right.
But whenever he touches it, seems like something always happens. And obviously the fumble recovery was really big for Silas, in which he outran a lot of Sooners down on that play. It's really cool to see him kind of spring Weissner there on that block. And then he's the one that recovers the ball 45 yards down the field for a touchdown. So 55 yards, end zone's 10 yards long. But all right, man, we're not going to talk too much on Texas, Georgia. Got a whole week for that. A little game I constructed for you because I thought that you would be pretty good at this. I've got 10 different teams here. We're going to go through them. I just want one word, all SEC teams. The first word that comes to your mind when we say each name. All right?
We're allowed to cuss too, right?
You can say whatever you want, brother.
All right, cool.
Oklahoma.
Fucking told you. I know it's more than one word. I told y'all. Y'all are y'all having fun yet?
Pretty good time.
No, not you guys. I know y'all are having fun. Oklahoma fans, are y'all having fun? You asked for one word. I gave you multiple sentences. I'm just so fired up about Oklahoma fans because they were the ones that were in my mentions the most this offseason about how, I was like, you're going to lose Missouri. You're going to lose this game. Like this is like, I hope you're having fun. This is not the Big 12. You guys have taken a massive back seat. And to be honest, like, you guys look like shit.
Feels pretty good to hear you say all of that about the old Oklahoma Sooners. Moving on, the Missouri Tigers.
Overrated. Like, what happened? What, like, they returned everything on offense besides Cody Schrader. They returned everything except for a white running back, and they've fallen apart. Like, this is like the 1960s NFL or something. Like, it's ridiculous.
It's like the Harvard teams in the 50s. Tennessee.
Okay. Like, the thing that I want to, you know what? The thing that I want to say, I feel like I'm going to get in trouble for, so I'm not going to say it. But the certain type of people that they have an identity crisis, and they have T, N, and S in their name. That's Tennessee. Like, who are you? Who are you? Good? Are you bad? Or what are you? I don't. That's all I have to say. I'm going to get myself in trouble.
You're good, man. Yeah, Heupel seems to be I don't know if he's just figured out. I don't know if it's Nico really struggling that bad with the progressions. But yeah, you take that first read away, like we talked about last night with John, and different player. Texas,
elite. They have really done this. This is all the change in college football that everyone's going through. It seemed to have been not the biggest benefit for them. They've just taken the biggest advantage of it. They've hit it at the right moment, and it's just everything they're doing is elite. And if you think that for any second it's going to stop anytime soon in this day and age with NIL and money, you're so wrong. Like they are here to stay, and they are not going anywhere for a very long time.
No doubt that Texas has been a beneficiary of the old NIL, the transfer portal, and the modern era of college football. I got our team side by side here. Alabama.
What the fuck is going on? What is going on? Angry, I think, is my reaction towards it. I finally snapped on Saturday. Or inconsistent, maybe that's a better word. It's just like there's such a lack of focus and killer instinct and honestly pride, I feel like, from the players and the coaching staff. Like they're doing all of the very hokey Disney Channel type things. Like, oh, we set rat traps around the stadium. Like, cool, you lost to fucking Vanderbilt, dude. Like the results matter on the field. Like this is not. I don't give a shit about what kind of hokey stuff you did off the field. It's been bad.
It's very odd to see, Kalen DeBoer smiling and stuff in games that they scathed by at home against Shane Beamer's Gamecocks. And it's only weird because of what Saban would have done, on the contrary, and how aggressive he might have been in that post-game interview. And then obviously, Sunday morning at the film, probably Sunday night at film, knowing that guy. So, yeah, it is weird to see. Obviously, post-Georgia, I felt really, really good about my Alabama SEC champion prediction. We talked before the season started. You brought up the secondary, and your concerns have played out a little bit. So, as for you though, I am rooting for your sanity. Roll Tide. I hope it all works out.
I appreciate that, brother.
You bet. Moving on, the Georgia Bulldogs.
Sleeping giant. I cannot believe that they are not as good right now as they could be. Like they are. I also just realized you asked me, like, very simply, just do one word. I have not done that once in this entire.
I like this better.
They are very dangerous. They're really banged up right now. Like they're not healthy. I think that they are a team that even if they lose this weekend, they could still make the playoff. But like the rest of college football needs to cheer for them to lose this weekend and against Ole Miss, because you do not want an angry chip on your shoulder, like back against the wall of Kirby Smart in Georgia. And I would be shocked if it happened and they were left out of the playoffs somehow. But they I think once they get healthy, they're going to be a lot better. But this is kind of what everyone else in the SEC has been having to deal with for the last couple of years. Like Georgia got to play in the SEC East. They didn't have to play as tough of a schedule in 21 and 22. And then when they started, it's coupled with the fact that they had a really good run while they were also really healthy, and they had a dominant defense. That's the MO of this team now, is score more points than everyone else. And it's weird. It's like they're forcing the ball down the field through the air. Yeah,
it's really odd to see, them attacking through the air so much, when they've just been so dominant on the ground. They're so
right.
Physical play action game, is kind of not a last resort, but they would almost do it for fun. And so, we'll see about Georgia. It feels just like, they just need the right thing to click, obviously get healthy. That's a big part of it as well. And then back to the Georgia of old. Our neighbors to the east, Texas A&M.
Oh, man. Are they good? Or are they, because I don't think they've played that difficult of a schedule yet. I'm not buying in on the hype for A&M. Like, they turned the corner in terms of all the hype that people. Let me start over. People have unfairly gotten onto A&M about they're always ranked high and they never live up to the hype, like blah blah, like dating back to 2019. Like 2019 is a perfect example of this program, because they were starting out in the year top 10, like in FPI and a couple other rankings, and they lost 5 games. Well, they lost 5 games to top 10 teams. Like they lost 3 or 4 games to top 5 teams. So that's why they went 7-5. And then ever since then, they got this weird like moniker and weird, label that's like, oh, they don't live up to the expectations. And they didn't live up to some with Jimbo, but it's not like they're always overhyped. This year, they finally got to fly under the radar a little bit, and they lose a tough one to Notre Dame, who I think is still really good. But now you can see how good this program can be. I think what's most impressive about Texas A&M is the fact that I thought Marcel Reed was great in place of Connor Wegman, and then Connor Wegman came back from injury after like 3.5 games off and told everyone like this is still my team basically, and balled out against Mizzou. So long way to go. I don't think they beat like the Texas A&M game. I think one of the best things that could happen to college football this year is that game matters, and I hope that we're headed for that.
Absolutely, man. I mean, A&M doesn't have the craziest schedule overall, but they beat an Arkansas team by 4 after winning the turnover battle by 3. Obviously, they whipped Missouri, but Missouri almost lost to Boston College, almost lost to Vanderbilt. I shouldn't say almost lost to Boston College. Boston College Vanderbilt made that game. Right. But yeah, I mean, I think A&M, they do look pretty good. Connor Wigman adds a higher ceiling to that team for sure with the way that he played against Missouri. LSU.
Oh, man, that's a sleeping giant right there. That offense is really good. What's scary about LSU is they still get Bama at home. They still get Oklahoma at home. They got a tough road game at A&M. But the scary part about LSU is the offense is the offense. Right? The offense is really good.
Yep.
The offense didn't give up a single sack to Ole Miss. And that was the team that was leading the country in sacks and quarterback pressures coming into that game. On the other side of that, they lost their best player, Harold Perkins, several weeks ago. And Braden Swinson and Whit Weeks and all those guys, they have been really good. They had 6 sacks against Ole Miss. And just in a game where you come into that where it's like the overwhelmingly biggest matchup you thought you were going to see was the offensive line for LSU versus the defensive line for Ole Miss. The one that ended up being the factor was the other way around. So Garrett Nussmeier played his worst game of the season. They still won against a top 10 team. They have a shot at going deep in the playoffs because Garrett Nussmeier is an absolute dog in general, and the fact that he is going to have time to throw for the whole year, like it's just very clear that this is one of the better offensive lines, pass protection wise, in the country. So,
no doubt, man, it was crazy to see because I didn't get to. Even if you would have texted me during Texas Oklahoma, I wouldn't have gotten it until 8:00 because the service was so bad there. Even when I was driving away from the Cotton Bowl, I still couldn't get text, internet, or anything to go through. But yeah, when I'm looking at the numbers of that game and see that Ole Miss outrushed them by over 100 yards, that Dart kind of, I'm not saying Nussmeier, he outplayed Nussmeier, but it was kind of even. And to see that, Ole Miss didn't win that game, I was pretty damn shocked. But then you start talking about the sacks and everything like that, makes a big difference there. Dude, I like LSU.
Nussmeier's like that final drive. This is what cracked me up because I was like, I work for ESPN Baton Rouge, and I'm like, okay, like this game is awesome. But like that game tying drive, I was like, I'm gonna go put together a graphic real quick or a stat thing because that final drive where he tied it up with like 20 seconds left or whatever, I was like, that it has to be like an incredible stat line. And I go look it up, Ghost. He was 4 of 11 on the final drive. He was 4 of 11. He was 1 of 7 on first and second down. But on third and fourth, he went 3 of 4 for 56 yards and just, dropped his nuts on Ole Miss, and then they go to overtime and they win. So
they definitely had all of the momentum heading to overtime. But yeah, 4 for 11 on the final drive, but being 3 for 4 on the money downs, I guess that's all that matters right there.
Yeah.
That was a dot that he threw to tie that thing up. A really, really good ball, kind of next level. I got 2 more here, brother. Ole Miss.
Not dead yet, but I hope they are. I don't care how that sounds.
Is that because of Lane Kiffin?
I think that what I've had to watch with him, I think Kiffin's great. I like Kiffin a lot, but I wrote about this on Sunday on our site, LouisianaSports.net. I was like, this is if they are going to be good the rest of the year, and they're gonna still not even compete, but finish out their season strong. They're going to Lane Kiffin's going to have to do something that he has never done consistently in his career, which is commit and stay. Because every time things have ever gotten hard for Lane Kiffin, ever, he has at least threatened to leave. Like he did, like USC, he did it against Tennessee. He did it at Tennessee. He went to USC. USC, he gets fired. He comes back and starts to he's like the rehab thing. By year 3, after Saban had rehabbed his career, let's keep in mind that he left the team. They mutually parted ways, which is not how that went down. He left before the national championship game, in between the conference, the semifinals and the national championship game. Then he goes Ole Miss. Every single time there's a chance that he can threaten to leave, he does. And it's just interesting because this team has been built in the portal. I've been saying this nonstop. Them in Miami, they built their entire programs or their entire teams and rosters this year almost like a what's the best way to put it? Like a Major League Baseball team right before the trade deadline. Like we feel like we can make a postseason run. Let's go make some moves and then see where we are because this is our year. Like we are all in for this year. And now you're talking about it's you already had your second loss. You have 5 games left. Are you going to be able to figure out how to finish out the season undefeated? Because if they do, they might have a chance to make the playoff. But what a disappointing start of having to live up to expectations, which is also something he's never done really, really a great job at. This is the one thing I kept saying in the offseason. Ole Miss hasn't had back-to-back 10-win seasons since 1960. Yep. And we just crowned Lane Kiffin this incredible coach. He's a top 10 coach. That was one of the most far-fetched bunches of bullshit I have seen in college football in a long time. Giving him this this moniker that he's a top 10 coach because of what? I hope that he is at some point. I think I'm excited for his story arc. I think he's done a great job rehabbing his own image. But dude, why are we pretending all of a sudden because we like his Twitter account, he's a top 10 coach in college football? He's never been that.
No, I think that he's his lack of success in the big games. That just only supports your claim there. It's kind of crazy. I really thought that at some point this year, I didn't think they'd lose to Kentucky. But we had me and Brandy do the gambling thing on here every Wednesday, and that was the only play I lost that week. I gave out Ole Miss minus 17.5, and they lost at home. And so I had
them score first quarter and first half, and I got one of them right. that was it.
Well, we got one right. There we go. Yeah. But man, it's just I fell for it. I took the bait. I thought that they'd show up and play better in some of these big time spots. Death Valley off a bye week for LSU was never going to be easy. You know what I mean? Never going to be easy, but you have to make one stop there, and you're forcing 3rd and 4th downs there over and over again. And you don't make the plays. All right. Last one I've got here on this segment, Vanderbilt.
God damn it. That might be the word for you right there. Just a GD. Man, listen, I can admit that part of this is because they beat my team. But I can also tell you objectively watching this team. I said this, and I felt stupid when I said it, but I also know that I'm also right when I say it. This isn't, pardon the cliche, this is not your grandpa's Vanderbilt. They are a good football team. They are. And here's the thing. Diego Pavia Diego Pavia has been awesome. He's like Will Howard was at Kansas State. He is guaranteed to have 2 touchdowns every single game, probably 200 yards of offense, maybe 250. And then it's just steady, right? And he's been so good. Dude, Vanderbilt going to Kentucky, being the first I took them first score plus at plus 175. That was free money. Kentucky's offense is trash. Then there's Vandy plus 3.5 first quarter, free money. And then I took it at 14.5. And that's I hit all 3 because it was just they are still being judged based off the logo on their helmet, a lot like Alabama is, but for opposite reasons. And by the way, my nose is I've had allergies all day. I promise I'm doing a bunch of cocaine before we're doing this.
I've had the same issue for a week and a half.
It's the worst. I love the weather's changing, but then it's just it fucks me up, man. Anyway, so you have all that. I think that Vandy is really, really good. I think not really, really good. They're not going to compete for an SEC championship or anything like that. But dude, they could have beaten Mizzou. The fact that they lost to Georgia State in the most Vandy way possible was unbelievable.
That hurt.
Here's the thing about Vandy that no one wants to talk about that happened against Alabama. They decided, you know what, the best way to beat Alabama is to keep that offense off the field. Here's our game plan. And then they went out there and executed that game plan and beat them. Like, that was not a fluke. That was not a kick six. That was not a Hail Mary. Vanderbilt went out and like pushed around Alabama, kept the football for 42 minutes, ran shovel passes till they're fucking, till the cows came home. It was Bama still can't cover a shovel pass. But I mean, it was about as good of a coaching job as you could do, because they saw the weaknesses and flaws of that defense and they took full advantage of it. That had nothing to do with like, oh, we caught lightning in a bottle and Bama had a bunch of turnovers. Bama had some turnovers, but like, credit Vandy, man. Like, they went out and beat them. So I don't know if they're able to do that against Texas, even though they own y'all historically. I'm just going to say it. 8-3-1 against y'all all time. This is insane. But no, I think that they're a better team people give. And dude, good for fucking Vanderbilt, good for Diego Pavia, and good for college football. Like, what a great story.
I mean, dude, I almost shed a tear. No offense, brother, when they took y'all down. I mean, like, that was such a pure moment. That was incredible. Vanderbilt beating Alabama.
Never happened in my lifetime, Ghost. Not once. Like, it had never happened in my lifetime. I tell you this. I was so much less mad after that game than I was South Carolina, and Bama only lost one of those, because it was like, what a cool moment, man. Like, good for fucking Vandy. Good for that fan base. Good for like they. By the way, I don't know if you've ever been to Nashville, but marching a goalpost from that stadium into the river is like, that's not an easy feat. It's like a 3-mile trek.
They balled. They did.
Yeah.
Kids are awesome, and that's part of what makes college football so great. I saw people complaining about it and getting all political. I can't stand this stuff. People suck, man. Real quick before we get to the last couple questions for you, Chris, how worried should Vandy be about losing Clark Lee?
I don't think anyone's taking Clark Lee. I do want to I do hope that he gets a lifetime, not a lifetime contract, but I hope he gets a Gus Malzahn type deal out of this, because he should. He really should.
Absolutely, man. Doing a very special thing over there in Nashville. I will be up there next week. Very, very excited. When we made plans to go, I was like, okay, cool. A Texas game in Nashville, a new SEC venue to check out. It'll be fun. It got a lot more fun after Vanderbilt's last month of play, for sure. All right, man, I've got 3 more things for you, but I'm going to ask them all kind of tied together just so that you can answer them all at once, because I know you do have to run. Most surprising team in a good way in the SEC, most disappointing team, or most surprising team in a disappointing way. And then who would you have as, we're almost to the midseason point. Who would you have as your midseason SEC player of the year?
Well, that's so good. All right, so most surprising team in a good way, Vandy. Clearly.
I just had to hear you talk about them longer.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate that. No, it really is like they just – I think being able to go into – Cole Kubick threw out a stat about this. I can't remember what it was, but like, dude, they went in back-to-back weeks. They were a 23-point underdog to Bama, and then after beating Alabama, they were a 14.5-point underdog to Kentucky on the road. And they never trailed for a second in either one of those games. 120 straight minutes, never trailed. That's just a testament to like, listen, we might not believe in them, but if you saw any of the videos too from that locker room, like they fucking believed that they were going to go in there and win that game.
Absolutely.
And so that's, I would say for them, most disappointing. I feel like I'm missing someone, but I'm going to say. I'm going to say Kentucky, and it wasn't like the ceiling was super high, but you went out and got Brock Vandagriff from Georgia. You might have a new narrative of like Kentucky is the place where transfer portal quarterbacks go to die, because Will Levis was fine. He led the SEC in interceptions in his time there, but he was fine. Like Devin Leary was awful.
It was.
And Vandagriff has just not been good. And here's the thing, man. Like, the run game has been pretty good in support of him. The receivers they had a bunch of talent coming back at receiver. Dane Key was there, like Barry and Brown. They have 2 guys, like they should be good. they're horrible offensively. And I would almost say them over Oklahoma. I would include Oklahoma, but like I think that I saw that coming because it was like, dude, here's the thing with Oklahoma. If you thought you were going to waltz into the SEC in a year where you'd replace your entire offensive line, fun fact, when Missouri came in 2012, they lost their top 6 offensive linemen to injury before the first game was played. They went 4-8. And my best friend's a Mizzou fan. I had to hear from all around the country. Oh, they're not ready for grown man football, big boy football. Welcome to the SEC. It's like, well, guys, they lost their entire fucking offensive line, like their entire offensive line. Oklahoma comes in after losing having to replace their entire offensive line. Then they lose all 5 receivers like to start the year, and then they this is going to shock you, Ghost. They realize it might have been a mistake to let Dylan Gabriel, like one of the best, like all-time, college quarterbacks we might have ever seen statistically. Like I would put him out there numbers-wise with like those kids out there in Hawaii for a long time. Like they're just like prolific numbers. You know what I mean? Like just prolific numbers.
Yeah.
Also, I think he's from Hawaii. So there you go. That also makes sense.
There you go.
But I would say Oklahoma has just been disappointing because they have no identity. Offensively, they're bad. I love their fans saying, like, oh, defensively, we're elite. Like, oh, we finally got an elite defense. And look, our offense sucks. You don't have an elite defense? You didn't rank in the top 5 in any category besides rush defense going into that Texas game. And that's in the SEC, not even nationally. Like, that's a fan base that's getting humbled quickly. And the last question you said, by the way, I love I told you I had 20 minutes and I talked through roughly 7 total questions for basically 30 minutes, of course.
Thank you, brother.
The SEC Offensive Player of the Year, people aren't going to like it, but it's Jalen Milroe. It's Jalen Milroe. He's got 22 touchdowns. He played bad against South Carolina. Dude, he went into that South Carolina game with the highest passer rating of any quarterback in the country coming into that game. And it's after he had played Georgia on the road at Wisconsin. Like they've got some games left on that schedule, but Jalen Milroe is the Offensive Player of the Year as of right now.
Absolutely. I do agree with you. I think without Jalen Milroe, Alabama is in a world of hurt right now.
Oh, God.
Again, we come on 3 weeks later, 5 weeks later, it could be a completely different answer. There are a lot of ball left to play. But yeah, Chris, I really appreciate you taking some time here to share some opinions with you on the SEC,
sorry.
guys.
You don't like that.
I don't care. There you go. But yeah, guys, if you're watching on Twitter, I appreciate you. Please hop on my profile, follow the link to the video. Like this for Chris, show him some love. Very cool of him. He's super busy. He has like 15 podcasts that he hosts, I believe. It might be a 16. Yeah. I don't know.
Locked on South Carolina, cover Crimson for Next Round Live, covering Alabama. Locked on obviously is covering South Carolina, and then I work for ESPN Baton Rouge covering the entire SEC, but also focusing on LSU as well.
And so, you still do is it Third and Wrong or what? You have
Fourth and Wrong.
Fourth and Wrong.
My own podcast. We just had an episode that came out yesterday, and I went off. I always say if you love college football and you hate the bleep button, you will love the show. So go give it a listen.
Well, there you go, guys. If y'all can handle that, get in there, show some love, like his stuff. Go check him out. There's a lot of different outlets he's a part of.